Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Arlene, educator and backyard gardener. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Arlene's Garden. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how I fertilize my brassicas, specifically my cabbage and my cauliflower. I'm doing this video voiceover because in the original video, my neighbor's barking dog and the gardener's blower were so loud that it was drowning out my audio. So I'm doing this narration so that you can hear the information I have to impart. um, Now, I'd like to also say that if you find the information useful, informative, or entertaining, please feel free to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. So now, let's get into this. I planted these beautiful cabbage a couple months ago in this 4x8 raised bed. I must say that they're making me proud. They really look good, don't they? Yes, I know. Now, I want to say that for plants to look this beautiful and wonderful, they need three primary macronutrients. They need nitrogen, which supports chlorophyll production and leaf growth. They need phosphorus, which supports root development, strength, growth, and vitality of the entire plant. And they also need potassium, which also supports growth, photosynthesis, and also fruit and flower development and nutrient and water uptake. So these are the important macronutrients that all plants need. When you purchase fertilizer, you will find the content of these macronutrients listed on the packaging. Now, I also want to say brassicas, such as this cabbage that you're seeing here in the video, are heavy feeders, meaning they require a lot of nitrogen and plenty of organic matter in the soil and plenty of water. So when I filled this bed, I made sure that I gave them a good start. Before planting, I filled the bed with a mix of used container soil from other beds and containers because I amend my soil very richly with composted matter, organic matter, all kinds of macronutrients, and I don't throw soil away. So I used that soil from other plantings. I also used Kellogg's organic raised bed soil, black cow composted manure, peat moss, and perlite so that it would be well draining, but also retain the moisture. I live in a very arid area, so the dry air will just wick the moisture out of the soil like you would not believe. So I need to amend the soil with things that will help it retain moisture. And I also mulch to keep the soil moist and cool because it's hot and arid where I live in zone 10A. Now, in addition to those things, I also mixed in kelp meal, blood meal, a balanced organic slow release fertilizer, and also worm castings and bone meal, which is high in phosphorus and necessary for root development. So I felt like that was important at the very beginning at planting. And I also mixed in a little azomite clay, or rock dust, as some would refer to it, which has an abundance of trace minerals. Now, in the planting hole, I added worm castings, blood meal, and kelp meal to give these brassicas a boost of nitrogen. So overall, I believe I gave them a very, very good start. And I think that's why they look so good. They look good. Now, since planting, I have side dressed them monthly with a slow release fertilizer, which is recommended. And also, every 2 weeks, I give them a nice dose of fish emulsion, liquid fish emulsion fertilizer for a dose of nitrogen. Now, in this video, I'm using 3 fertilizers, and I'm going to demonstrate how I apply them. I wrote this narrative so that it could accompany the video. The first is the Neptune Organic Kelp Meal. It has an NPK of 102, which is 1% nitrogen, 0% phosphorus, and 2% potassium. The second is Vigoro Slow Release Balanced Fertilizer. It has an NPK of 465, which means it has relatively balanced level of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. This is not the only one I've used, though. I've also used Dr. Earth, Espoma, Jobs, and Burpee, and they're all very similar, and you can get them from any Home Depot or Lowe's or Walmart or anywhere gardening products are sold. The third is Alaska Fish Emulsion. I use this a lot. It has an NPK of 511, which means it's high in nitrogen, 5%, 1% phosphorus, and 1% potassium. Again, I have used other brands of fish emulsion like Neptune's, and they're all high in nitrogen. I think one of them has a 311, but I like the Alaska because it has 511. One of them has 300. I don't remember which one that is, but all of them have a high nitrogen and either 0 or very low of the phosphorus and potassium. Now, whichever one you decide to use, follow the directions on the package because you don't want to run the risk of over-fertilizing or burning your babies. Now, the risk of that is relatively low using organic fertilizer because there are no chemical components in the formulation. It's all organic matter. And as long as you don't put it directly on the plant and you put it in the dirt, then you're pretty safe. But still, just don't over fertilize. It's just not a good thing because depending on where the plant is in the growing stage, you could fertilize at a time where the plant is trying to rest. Like, for example, in my area, zone 10A, it gets very hot and dry, as I mentioned before. And sometimes that heat stress will cause the plant to go into a not dormant, but slow down its growth because it's protecting itself. But then if you pump it with a lot of fertilizer, then that's not good. It needs to rest during those heat waves or whatever is causing it to slow down its growth. So what happens here is that when the weather cools down, then the plant will rebound and start to grow and flourish again. And the reason why I mention heat is because cabbage, brassicas, broccoli, greens, spinach, all of these leafy greens are typically cool weather crops. And so you have to keep that in mind when fertilizing. If you're in a heat wave and the plants are stressed, I would withhold fertilizer. I would just water. And then when the temperature drops again, start fertilizing on a regular fertilizer schedule. That's just me. That's what I've noticed. And my plants are like my children. And as you're raising your children, you get to know them. And this is how my plants, especially my leafy greens and anything, behaves in this hot weather in Southern California. So I've learned to adapt in that regard and also with fertilizing. Now, let's see. I apply my fertilizer in using a 4-step process. In step 1, I move the mulch away from the base of the plant to expose just the dirt underneath. And then step 2, I sprinkle the dry, slow release fertilizer around the base of the plant on the dirt, but not on the plant. Because again, we don't want to run the risk of burning our babies. Then I will either use the hand rake or my hand to scratch in the fertilizer, mix it into the soil. Okay. And then step 4, I will water it in. Now, I water it in with fish emulsion, liquid fish emulsion. And step 4 for me is a really important step because the plant is not able to take up any of the nutrients from the slow release fertilizer as it's applied. It's not able to use it immediately. It has to break down. It has to be broken down by the microbes in the soil, by the organic matter in the soil, worms, microbes, bugs. That is what has to happen before the plant can use the nutrients in that slow release fertilizer. So that is where watering in with the liquid fish emulsion comes in. The liquid fish emulsion gives the plant an immediate dose of nitrogen that it can use right away. Also, because the fish emulsion or fish fertilizer is made with organic matter, fish, bones, and the flesh and kelp and things like that, there are naturally occurring microbes in the fish emulsion that can help break down the slow release fertilizer that you're putting in the soil. So I always water in with fish emulsion, always, 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 always. And so that is how I fertilize every monthly. But every 2 weeks, I will fertilize with a nice dose of just the fish emulsion. And so that is how I fertilize my brassicas, including cabbage, cauliflower, kale, broccoli, greens, collards. And so, with that said, I hope that the information I've given you is helpful. And if so, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you will know when I have other gardening goldens to impart to you. And until we meet again, love and blessings. And thank you for visiting Arlene's Garden. Bye-bye.